for that. I understand there's a lot of things that go on that distract us. We have a lot of external things that happen, and a lot of junk stuff and things that goes on. And so we were looking at some things, and we'll talk to church just a little while this morning. You know, you try to be, and I'm trying to find the words to say. You don't want to fuss, but you do have to call to our attention when we're not meeting the standard we should meet. And I understand the problems we've got. I want you to be in prayer for us. Our daughters in Miami had some very serious surgery going on Monday, so it's not like I don't understand the things come up. But we need to put all of those things in the proper perspective. That being said, it's good to see our oldest daughter here with us, my granddaughter. It's good to see all of you. Good to see all of you that are here. See Carter, good to see you, man. God bless you. Good to see you. Love you. Good to see all these young men. My boy Damien in the back. All right, God bless you, Damien. Good to see you. And my heart's kind of broken. Dex talked with me last Sunday and told me he and Eric would probably be leaving us. We hadn't had a set date, but they were going to be leaving to promotion with this company. And we thank God that God has blessed us. He's given us some good young men. We're really proud. That being said, we want to look at the lesson. Because I don't want to be long, but I do want to be strong. As we say, Matthew 10, I want to start at verse 37. If you love your father or your mother more than me, you are not worthy of me. Or if you love your son or your daughter more than me, you are not worthy of me. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, neighbor, oh neighbor, oh neighbor. We're getting careless. We're getting careless with our love.
Amen.
Long time ago, again, young folks, y'all gonna have to ask Big Mama about this. Because y'all don't know about this, but long time ago, Johnny Taylor had this song about he was hanging out with somebody he had no business hanging out with. And he said it was starting to get shaky. And he said we started to get careless with our love. But in this particular instance, I want to call our attention in Franklin Street that we're kind of getting careless with our love for Christ. And by that I mean we're not as attentive to him as we should be. We're getting careless about. And this is not to put you on the spot. I just want you to think about when's the last time you went to Sunday school? When's the last time you were on time for worship? When's somebody said today? Amen. When is the last time you gave as you prospered? When is the last time? Just start thinking about, how you were dating and you say, we don't do the stuff we used to do. Honey, I can't remember the last time you took me to dinner. But I can remember Spain took me out Sunday for my birthday and Friday as well. So, but I can remember. But I'm just saying the things that, you get into a relationship and after you're into it so long, you start getting careless about and you start making excuses and simple excuses. And the thing about that is, the reason I said this is because he said if you love mother or father, but you can take mother and father, you can take sons and daughter out of it. There's a lot of stuff we love more than we love God sometimes. Sometimes we just love sleep more than we love God. I just don't feel, anybody ever say, I just don't feel like getting up this morning. Or we run all week. And I'm not fussing, but we run all week and then we too tired on Sunday morning. That's carelessness. That's carelessness. And so what do I love more than Christ? Whatever I put before him is it. If it's my job, if it's my family, if it's my time, if it's my money, we got to be careful that we give God his due. And if Lord blesses us to see a new year, I want us to do better about, you can't tell me, it would be hard to tell Sister Payne, baby, I love you, but I'm only dropping in once every 6 months. Come on now, come on now. You're quiet, you get quiet, but it's the truth. You know, let's put this in perspective. Let's put this in perspective. If we come to Sunday school at 9, some folks say that's too early. Anybody that go to work later than 9, hold your hand up. Anybody that goes to work later than 9 o'clock in the morning, hold your hand up. So if it's not too late for you, you try to show up and you get ready. Sister Hawkins hold her head up. Sister Hawkins is Tommy. She ain't got no job. She ain't got no job. But I want you to think about it. Now, we say 9 o'clock is too early to come to God's house. How many of us, they got a sale at Walmart? They got a sale at Dillard's. And we get there before they open. That's not, but I'm just saying, you got to think, the excuses we give God, when we accept them from other folks, it just means we're getting careless. We've done well, but we're starting to fall back. We're starting to get into some old habits that are not good habits. And the less time you spend with God, the less God you have in you. And the less time you have with God, the more you have your struggles, the harder you're going to struggle. You know the reason a lot of times, me and Sister Payne are going through hell and high water. Some of the children are sick. This is going on, that's going on. But we can come in here and y'all would never know it. You know why? Because our relationship with God is solidified, and we know whatever we're going through, He's going to get us through. But when you don't spend no time with Him, everything and anything throws you off. So what I'm saying is, let's start making more effort and less excuses. If I'm too sick, now here's my position. If I'm too sick to go to church on Sunday, then I'm too sick to go on Monday. Well, I felt better on Monday. You probably didn't feel any better, you just knew. Huh? See, because God gives us freedom, we want to take advantage of freedom. But you know, the man, if you ain't there, but I'm glad God gives, because He wants us, it would be miserable to have to go home instead of wanting to go home. Some folk go home because they got to go home. Other folk go home because they want. And that's the difference. The folk that got to go home hate to go. The folk that got to go to church, and folks say, well, and see, what we have to understand is we're not coming to worship. We're not coming to Sunday school to see each other. We're coming because to glorify God and to see our Father and to learn more about Him. So I challenge you, stop making excuses about why I can't be in Sunday school. Stop making excuses about why I'm late for worship. Stop making, think about it. It's 24 hours in Sunday. 24 hours in Sunday, and then you got 6 other days for 24 hours. If you just made Sunday school, worship, and Bible class in the evening on Sunday, you're talking about 3.5 hours. You can't give God 3.5 hours in your day. That's all it is. Now, when you think about it, 3.5 hours out of your week. And y'all sit at a football game longer than that. Matter of fact, you'll drive a couple of hours to get to the football game. Sit in the stadium 3 hours. 2 hours to get home. So that's who you love. That's what you love. And I'm not fussing. I'm just saying, don't play games with yourself. Look at yourself and say, does that fit me? And if I'm willing to spend more time with stuff outside of God than I am with God, then I don't love God. And I'm not a money preacher. I'm not a money preacher. But I tell you what, y'all don't hear me preaching about money. But the other side of that is, You can't say you love something and not support it. You can't say I love God. And everything we have, some of us are sitting here right now with blessings from God. We didn't know how we were going to do that. And then God blesses us to be able to do it. And then come to church and, well, I ain't got nothing to give you. He's giving you. All right. And you know, I don't even preach these kind of sermons, but I'm getting concerned about us because we're getting too lax. We're getting too lax. We're not where we used to be. And see, the thing about freedom is, now we could be one of those churches that beat you on the head. But see, we want folk to come to church because they love God, not because they're scared somebody gonna get on if they don't give, if they don't come. We're gonna love you regardless. But stop complaining about how rough your life is when you're not giving God any of your time. Your life would be the same, you just see it different. So what do you love more than God? Where you spend your time, where you spend your money is what you love more than God. And he said, if you love anything more than me, you're not what? Not worthy of it. So what do I love more than Christ? And don't play games with yourself. Don't play games with yourself. If it's the Cowboys, admit it's the Cowboys. If it's sleep, admit it's sleep. Because the beginning of getting it straight is being honest. If you can't be honest, you can't get it straight. You can't get it straight. So what do I love more than Christ? What is my reason? What is my real reason for not coming? When the Bible says I had to come to Sunday school, the Bible says forsake not these. If we designated 9 o'clock, and you know, I hear people all the time, okay, that's just so good. But anything else you want to do at 6:35? Huh? And I'm not, and see, folks say, and I'm not saying it to boast, but I try to be an example of what I'm talking about. I worked all night last night. You know how much sleep I've had since I got on? 0. If I'm paying, you getting paid. Well, I'm not saying it to boast. By the time y'all give me and I give back, I come out in the hole. It ain't like I'm getting, because I'm committed to this. And Bro Walker, Dr. Jones, y'all write the checks. I'm not saying it to boast. I'm just trying to kill your argument. Haven't I worked months at a time with no check? And y'all didn't even know I wasn't getting paid because I am committed to this work, and it ain't about the money. It's about the love I have for Christ and the love. So the excuse about me getting paid don't hold water either. If that don't hold water either. And you getting paid too. Every time God wakes you up, he's paid. Every time you go to your refrigerator and find some groceries, God is paid. Every time God gives you want more, need more. What's that, baby? There you go. There you go. Blessed beyond measure, and we don't want to give God 3.5 hours. Smile at me. I love you. You love me. So what I say ain't gonna tear us in two. If you refuse to take up your cross, how? Daily. See, we want to put it on for 45 minutes Sunday. And then say, oh, how I love Jesus. Say it loud. I said, sing it loud. Just sing it loud. Oh. And then looking out the corner, yeah, but I can't stand it. And not only must you, but if you refuse, and see, that's the thing. You got a choice to pick up your cross. And really coming to worship ain't a cross. Coming to Sunday school is not really a cross. It's a joy. It's what helps you carry your cross. You don't wonder why you're burdened down. You don't want to come give God any time. Everything and everybody else. The stuff you giving your time and money to is robbing you instead of enriching you. We're giving our stuff, and see, one of the things that I try to stay in touch with God, because I know my children are crazy. So somebody got to stay in touch. but I also know my mom and daddy had a crazy child. And they prayed for me and stayed with me till I had enough sense. And parents, stop talking about, well, they made me come to church, and I ain't gonna make my child go to church. They can come if they want to. Tell that to the school system. Yeah. See, we use all kind of illogical stuff with God that don't even make no sense. It's just because we don't. Just say, I don't care. I don't care. And you can live. I can live with that better than taking your cross daily and do what? He said, if you don't do it, you're not worthy of following. Then he says, if you cling to your life, you will what? Lose it. Okay, Peggy, I'm not always talking about putting your life in danger. I'm just saying, if I cling to my life, my way of living, if the stuff I do is more important than being God's house, taking care of other folk and worrying about other folk, one of the things if folk come to visit me, I'm coming to worship. Stuff about, well, I couldn't come to church because even my cousins coming to church, and if I can't trust them, they just going to have to leave the house till I get back. So you ain't got to go home, but you got to leave now. If I can't trust you, and see, that's what the devil does. He'll send folk to your house that know they don't go to worship on Sunday, so you can stay home. Well, I couldn't come because so-and-so was in. If that's okay, I put y'all some chairs out here on the porch. And like the old folk, you remember the old folk used to have them tin pitchers with the cups? And you put that ice and water. That was some good water, wasn't it? That old metal pitcher, it'd be water. I'll put y'all one of them out there with some water. Until I get back. If you're not going to keep me from going to worship because of that kind of foolishness. If you cling to your life, what do you cling to? You will lose it. But if you give it up, you will what? I guarantee you, try to come to Sunday school once. After the first couple of times, that may be a struggle. But after a while, we got a good teacher. Bishop does a good job in Sunday school. Have good discussions in Sunday school. And that's where you learn. That's where you learn. Come back on Sunday evening. We got to get more committed. What I want y'all to do from this point on is do the church house like you did the clubhouse. Yeah, I do. Because they start calling on Wednesday. Man, you gonna be there? It's going down, Miss. I done got my outfit. I already got my towel. I done got me some shoes. And I'm shooting. You ain't telling me. And I'm going to go for Friday. I'm going to get my hair and my nails did. That's right. Let's be honest. Isn't that what we did? And then somebody say, well, man, I can't go. I ain't got to cover y'all. I got you, man. Because you don't want to miss this. That's how we ought to be about worship. You don't want to miss this. And a lot of times, the stuff God has for you is the very Sunday. God has the answer to your problem through Elder Meeks, through Elder Turner. I ain't got many answers, but through them too, they got your answer, and God gives it to you, and guess what? You ain't even there. And save this smile. I got you, because they had their answer, but they wasn't available to get it. Tell you something. You don't know what you miss when you miss. When folk have pain, how's church Sunday? I can't tell you, you wouldn't believe it. What am I clinging to that keeps me from God's house and truly being, now here's what I want you to understand, committed to Him, not them. We don't want, I'm not worried about filling this church up because I want to see people. I want to see people saved. Because we can, if we wanted to, Bishop Meek said it this morning, if we just want to fill it up, we can play games and fill it up. Promise y'all all kind of blessings, and I can be selling prayer claws. Giving y'all my 5-day prosperity plan where y'all give me 500 and in 10 days you're going to get 5,000. We can play games with you. But all we have is the simple truth. And that ought to be enough. So here's what we're going to do. Last time. You seem to keep failing in life. Does it seem like every time you take a step forward, you take 2 back? Check your commitment. Check your relationship with God. Because Satan knows if you're not attached to anything, when he attacks you, you ever watch the spider? A spider is an amazing creature. He'll spin a web, and then sometimes he'll just jump. But you know, if you look behind him, guess what's there? That web is still. It doesn't matter how far he goes, he can get right back on that web because he's got something attached to it. It doesn't matter what life does to you. When you are attached to God, it doesn't matter how the wind blows. As long as you stay attached to God, you can get back home. But when you cut yourself off, that's why folk are miserable at all. That's why, it's not, I'm going to tell you something. Sometimes you feel bad physically because you're sick spiritually. Some of our physical sicknesses come from our spiritual separation. Because I guarantee you, when you ever seen folks that have a cold and they miserable, and then you see people that have full stage cancer and they just enjoy it. It's because of what they're connected to, or who they're connected to. Because God is living in them. And you can't get strength. You can't get strength at home by yourself. Satan gets you at that house, you start thinking about all kinds of stuff you ought not be thinking about. Then the next thing you know. So how do I get my commitment back? How do I get my commitment back? Commit your work, what? Whatever I do, I need to commit it to the Lord. Commit my work to the Lord. Whether it's my job at AEP, whether it's my family, all that's my work. Everything that I do to glorify God, commit it to God. Commit it to God. Because if you don't, you're going to be committed. We go crazy about anybody here that spent sleepless nights worried about crazy children. No offense, baby, but I love you. Crazy children. But once you commit them to God, and you say, well, God, I've done what I have. Sister Payne said many times, I've done what I can. I'm turning them over to you. Because you know God can do more. So ain't no need me missing church worried about my kids. All that means is they ain't going and I ain't going either. They don't have any help and I don't have any either. You just stay at home. You know one thing I tell the girls all the time. One-on-one Sweet Pea Court is always going to be at one-on-one Sweet Pea Court. Now, if you can find your way back home, you're going to be all right. You got to learn how to find your way. Your daddy and mama have moved. You just got to find that relationship that says he means as much to me as I do. Anybody ever been in a one-way love affair? You buying all the roses, cooking all the dinners. You're always the giver. They ain't got nothing to do. You saying all the I love you, they ain't saying nothing. So look, they eat your food, greasy mouth, all that kind of. Well, that's what we do to God. God is in a one-way love affair. He's doing everything he can for us, and we just soaking it in. Commit your work to him. Now watch the next phrase. And what? And then. That's why your plan's not succeeding. You have committed anything to God. But I appreciate, I will say this. Let me give you some flowers. When the fire was at the plant, Rachel said she got a lot of calls. It was fine. I happened to be working. It wasn't as bad as they made it sound. It was like, it was a fire, but it wasn't as bad as it sounded. And when I read the news report, all I could think of was Adrian Peterson. Now, I don't know if he abused this child or not. That's not the legal side. But I do know he didn't beat that child with no tree branch. They took a switch and made it a tree branch. And that's what Satan does. Satan takes stuff and he twists it and makes it sound worse. And I'm going to tell you something. Nobody here has a reason not to show up at Franklin Street. Because we tell you, your elders tell you, the deacons tell you, your fellow members tell you, we don't care what you've done. Be at worship on Sundays. Because that's the only way you can be blessed and get out of it. There's nothing wrong with being ashamed of what you've done, but don't be so ashamed that you can't come back to your family. If your family can't accept you, there's something wrong with your family. Because every one of us got a little saint in us and a whole lot of sin in us. Some of us act like we've been sanctified and filled with the Holy Ghost. We've been full of Holy, but it ain't Ghost. So we really don't have an excuse. And then we're saying this because when I look at this audience, no, there's a lot more of us than this. Where are they? Where are they? And then we got to communicate better. There are times when y'all in the hospital for weeks and I don't even know. Then I says, well, hey, I was in the hospital. I'm not Carmack. I don't have ESP. So if you know, what we need to do is stop and see what bothers me, and I ain't fussing, but I'm telling you, don't call me about some mess, and they don't call me about the stuff I need to know. The folks that really, somebody's in the hospital, somebody's having a struggle with something in their life. I want to know that. I really want to know that because Dick and I talked about this one here, and I kind of said it. I do. If I really can tell you, I'm not a very good patient. When I'm sick, I just want to be left alone. But I do appreciate you calling, saying how you're doing. But what I appreciate more is even if you don't come see me, I want to know somebody's praying for me. And I'm praying for you all the time, but I don't know what to pray for. Sometimes prayers need to be specific. So when you're in the hospital, if you know somebody's in the hospital, somebody's passed, don't assume somebody else called. How many of you have had your lights go out? Power go off? How many of us have had to wait longer to get our lights back on because we assume somebody else called? Because you assume somebody called, then I assume somebody called, and the neighbor, my neighbor called, the neighbor said, well, Dwight called, and ain't nobody called. Same thing with the church. Don't assume somebody called, you make the call. And if we get 10 calls on it, it's not going to bother me. That lets me know we're caring about each other. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Every one of us see a face, or don't see a face here today. Call them and ask them what we can do to help them be more committed to worship. Not to us, but to God. Because when you come to worship, it's about your commitment to God. It ain't even about that. That's why it don't bother me, folks come to worship and look at folks. However y'all sing, that's you and God. I ain't the best singer. See, we get so hung up on what people think. When you come into this place, it's about you and God. We come in here, but at this point, it's about me and God. And when me and God get through, maybe I have something to help you when I leave here. But right now, I'm at a point where I need just a little more Jesus. So I come come to get my field just like you come to get your field. So look at your life. Are you careless with your love? Are you missing out on your connection with God? Answer some of the questions I asked you. Last time you were Sunday school. When's the last time you started getting? See, when I was growing up, show you how we've changed. When I was growing up, Mama started cooking on Saturday night. The clothes were laid out on Saturday night. Huh? Some of that old stuff wasn't so bad. Now we done partied so hard Saturday night. Johnny said, we get killed. We ain't got no business together in the first place. We leaving some openings for folks to see what we do. Well, the difference here is you're supposed to be with God. But you're leaving openings for Satan to see you ain't with God. That's why husbands, wives, it's okay to go off every now and then by yourself. Ain't nothing wrong with it. So you haven't done anything by yourself. Take a trip, just enjoy yourself, just go do something. That's good. But every now and then, folks need to see us together to know we're still together. Because after a while, if they don't see me with Sister Payne, somebody's going to say, oh, she must be by herself. And then there's going to be some repercussions and consequences. Yeah. It's going to be some repercussions. So don't get upset if the devil say, can I date you? And you tell me, I belong to God. Well, I ain't seen you with it. Y'all still love me? Yes, sir. We still love you. But I want us to be, 2015 is coming up. I want us to be more committed to the cause of Christ. Not to Franklin Street, but to the cause of Christ. Try to, just try to make, if I didn't make one Sunday school last year, try to make one this year. They try to make another. That's how babies walk. They take a step, and see, habits are hard to break. Once you get in the habit, you'll find reasons not to do something. You have to be careful of getting, you watch, because I find myself doing that. If I miss one Sunday evening, then after a while I find another reason. Why is it important? Because it's important. What are you going to learn? I read my Bible at home. That's good. But do you understand everything you read? Yeah, Bishop didn't teach him, and he can teach. If you understand it all, come talk to him, because he don't. So what we're asking you for is for your and even the